Before I began these courses, my understanding of leadership was largely instinctive. I modeled my approach on the leadership styles I had observed in others, with varying effectiveness. I viewed leadership primarily as a matter of authority and achieving results without considering the significance of human dynamics, ethical responsibilities, or evidence based practices in effective leadership. Before this program, my leadership approach was command and control. I would issue instructions with the expectation of compliance, and any deviation from that plan was typically unwelcome. I would see myself as the leader and the most capable and informed person. It wasn't necessarily deliberate as it grew over time. This style can produce short-term results. However, different contexts call for different approaches. The consequences of this type of leadership are the loss of trust and burnout. One characteristic I believe made a good leader was always having your team's back. We were defended when things went wrong, and our leader took responsibility when it could have been easier to deflect the blame downward. My view wasn't necessarily uninformed, it was experientially grounded. It was just incomplete. I was measuring leadership by how it felt to be led and not by what it produced in the people being led or in the organization. I believed that organizational leadership was fundamentally divided. Leaders either prioritized people over profit, and most individuals in positions of authority had chosen profit. I assumed that organizations paid only superficial attention to worker well-being, professional development, and human dignity. When confronted with critical decisions, I expected the bottom line to prevail to the detriment of employees. This course provided me with the vocabulary and framework I had previously lacked. I had never formally studied the nature of organizations or the reasons leadership theories vary within different contexts. This was perhaps the most humbling course. I realized I had been making decisions based on experience and intuition without sufficiently studying the underlying data. I learned that ethics is not only about avoiding wrongdoing, it requires actively fostering a culture in which individuals are comfortable acting ethically. This distinction changed my understanding of my function as a leader. I discovered that resistance to change rarely stems from a dislike of improvement. Rather, it comes from experience of loss, uncertainty, and lack of trust. Recognizing this has altered the way I communicate change to a team. This capstone course encompassed analysis, synthesis, stakeholder engagement, and the production of a concrete deliverable. It compelled me to embody every leadership model I've studied: ethical, data-informed, adaptable to change, and grounded in theory. Today, as a leader, I am more self-aware, deliberate, and humble than when I began this journey. I no longer equate confidence with competence, nor do I believe that authority alone inspires followership. I now understand that leadership is relational, contextual, and rooted in ethical principles. A leadership journey truly does not conclude with a degree, it accelerates. The program offered a strong foundation while highlighting the ongoing need for learning, practice, and growth in leadership. Leadership isn't a destination, it is discipline. I remain committed to practicing leadership with intention, integrity, and the understanding that strong leadership is ultimately about serving others. Thank you.